I welcome everyone to the exclusive interview by Exceller Books. I am Tanisha and I will be hosting this session. Today I have with me Mr. Kwei-Armah, the author of the book Let My Children Go, E-Leviathan Government. Thanks for joining us today, Mr. Arma. And first of all, I would like to congratulate you on accomplishing the huge task of writing and publishing your book. I, along with my entire team of Exceller Books, congratulate you on your success. And we are very happy and very satisfied to work on this project. And I will
Thank
start
you.
by introducing Mr. Arma. So, Mr. Kwi Arma is an advocate for truth. He has spent 43 years exploring political ideologies. He has challenged the traditional belief in human bondage through his work for self realization and human creativity. He urges governments worldwide to release humanity from false traditional constraints. Throughout his life, he is committed to guiding others on the path to find out truth and freedom and becoming their authentic self on earth. Let My Children Go Illegal government challenges the traditional notion of human freedom, rejecting the idea that perpetual subjection is the key. The book argues that humans are meant to be born free, contrary to Rousseau's belief and that breaking the inherent chain is necessary for the true freedom. It emphasizes the process of helping individuals discover and embrace their true self as a path breaking these chains and achieving genuine liberation. So that's a great bio of you, sir. And I would really like to know a few words from you regarding your life and regarding your published book.
Um, Kwei-Armah is a yes, like it's a publisher, it's a
Yeah.
writer,
Yeah.
and uh, actually, even if you want to know what prompted me into this project of writing,
Right.
especially the writing of this book, Ye Leviathan, let my children go, Ye Leviathan.
Yeah.
In fact, I was challenged into this work by the failure of the thinkers and the
Okay.
philosophers to correctly answer the question of man's freedom on earth.
Okay.
And that was my basic challenge.
Okay.
The failure, that failure of the philosophers, that has consequently therefore made the question of to be or not to be to continue to be asked, whether directly or indirectly, by the ever increasing number of the poor people on earth, the wretched of the earth, the ever increasing number of street children, refugees, immigrants, and the prevailing incidence of terrorist activities and ethnic conflicts, etc. And the failed answer in this regard is the answer that Thomas Hobbes' theory of sovereignty. Thomas Hobbes is an English thinker,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's a philosopher.
Yeah.
And the answer that he gave was that the answer that held that for purposes of man's freedom and security, he must transfer his right of self-government to the sovereign
Mm.
and to thereafter remain a perpetual subject of the sovereign. And this particular answer has now therefore tragically made governments the world over to believe that the business of government is to create perpetual subjects.
Mm.
This is the effect of that answer. And the same answer has tragically also made man to believe that to be a subject is to be a free man. The same answer.
Mm.
And accordingly, this work of mine does not only challenge this questionable answer, but dismisses it and puts forward a new answer, the answer for the new social and political order. This is challenging the old answer, the questionable answer. It dismisses the third answer, and puts forward a new answer. So this is what this book is about. So that's a brief of myself and what prompted me into writing this book.
Okay, okay. Thank you for your answer and thank you for your philosophical views on life, and that's great actually. So my next question to you would be that in your book you argue that individuals are subject to metaphorical perspective, and what role do philosophical and sociological insight play in shaping the society actually, or in your narrative? What role have they played?
Before I go to the second question, I have to set the record straight.
Okay, please go ahead.
I was talking about a chain, and the chains I'm talking about are not imposed by societal constructs.
Okay.
They are imposed by nature itself and are natural constructs.
Right.
Because it is true in my observation that man is born into a world of chains.
Okay.
Right. And some of these chains are, for instance, the hot and cold weathers, the marauding animals in the bush, the mountains, the rivers, the forces of gravitation into which man is born.
Yeah.
And these are forces, and these are chains that had since creation ever stood to deny man the opportunity to freely go wherever he wills on earth. These natural constructs, they had since that man's creation stood to deny him the opportunity to freely move where he wills. And these chains, the natural constructs that man needs to break to be free, are, however, not only physical in nature.
Yeah, right.
But also the mental chains of man.
Right.
This mental chains is more or less is lack of knowledge. This lack of knowledge, the lack of which, according to the Lord in the Holy Bible,
Yeah.
the Lord says, man perishes for lack of knowledge.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
And that's the chain that to be broken. It is not only the chain, but the contradictions of man from his state of nature. The life of contradictions makes man's life in his state of nature brutish, nasty, and short,
Right.
like Thomas Hobbes rightly said. And so, and socially, and these chains I'm talking about are the chains, the natural construct into which man is born, and the chains that man needs to break in order to be free. These are the chains that the natural constructs, the physical chains, the mental chains, the life of contradictions. So this is what the book actually
is it all about?
Six. Yeah. So the whole work is about having man to learn to break these chains. And later on, we shall see how to break these chains, because this book answers us how to break these chains.
Right.
I think
right.
the question 4 will come to that.
Yes, right, exactly. So yeah, since we're talking about mental liberation, so from there I will just want to know that your title, even the title of your book suggests liberation, invoking a powerful imaginary. So could you share more
That's
insight from, yeah, could you share more insight about
yeah,
the significance of the title and how it, becomes a central theme of your book, like liberation?
yes, yes, yes. This title of this book, Let My Children Go Ye Leviathan Governments, is indeed significant
Mm.
because this book is about movement of man on earth
Okay.
and exodus,
Mhm.
and exodus, which is in this regard about movement of man from that state at which he's fettered in the which he is born.
Mhm.
The movement of man from that state at is fettered the chains in which he is born.
Mm.
A state, and that state is a state of bondage.
Right.
And the movement is to make man go to that state at which he becomes free from his chains. You know, it's a movement from state of bondage
Yeah, yeah.
to a state
Right.
of freedom. That state
Mhm.
where man becomes able to break his chains by himself.
Mhm.
And so, and this book, this title is so, because this book is therefore also about having governments to make man go from that state at which he is fettered in the chains in which he is born, his state of bondage.
Mhm.
This book is the Leviathan, the government. This
Mhm.
book is meant to have the governments that are keeping people in the perpetual chains, to
Yeah.
have man go from the chains,
Mhm.
have man go from this state of bondage to that destination appointed unto him by by God Himself. That's the promised destination of man on earth. The destination that God wants man to go
Mhm.
is that state at which he becomes free from the chains that
Mhm.
fettered him.
Mhm.
Because God's intention is to have man to break his chains by himself and to be
Mhm.
able to become free.
Free. Right.
And so this book is about having man, therefore, to go from his state of bondage
Mhm.
and to that state where he fulfills the will of the first cause.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah, because the will of the first cause is to have man go to that state at which he becomes free from his chains.
Mhm.
This is the goal. So the one saying, ye Leviathan,
Mhm.
let my children go,
Mhm.
is the Lord Himself now commanding government to have His people to move from that state at which they are fettered in their chains, which is their state of bondage,
Yeah.
to go to that state where they become free from their chains and therefore become free, which is the appointed destination of God to man.
Mhm.
And this is
Right.
where this is why the title is so important, because it talks about having governments to have
Yeah.
man move from a state of bondage to that
Mhm.
state at which he becomes free, a free
Mhm.
man. So this is what
Absolutely.
this book is.
Yeah, it's about to urging and to pleading to government to let away human beings and to be free everyone, so that everyone can be free in the
Yes.
society and everyone can have an equal opportunity they deserve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for your deep analysis on this particular topic. So, my next question to you would be that your narrative emphasizes the importance of embracing one's authentic self for true freedom. So, how do you see individuals breaking free from societal chains, and what guidance does your book provide for this self discovery and liberation? So, actually, you have said a lot about self-realization and liberation, but we would like to know a more insight from your book, which is related to breaking from this chain and breaking from the bondage of life. Can you give
That's
us
right.
some certain
Yeah, I
real
think
life examples? Could you give
yes,
us certain real life examples so that everyone can understand more, like what kind of bondage you're talking about?
yeah, the bondage I was talking about primarily was man's lack of inability to break the chains in which he is born.
Mhm.
The chains, like some of these chains, like the forces of gravity, the rivers, at the time of birth,
Mhm.
time and space, it's easy
Mhm.
even a chain
Mhm.
onto man. That
Mhm.
man also needs to break.
Mhm.
And then, so the fourth question is saying, but the good news that in the whole process is that the good news to tell in this regard is that the answer to the question of making man to break the chains in which he is born lies in making man to become his true self, that to go to the his promised destination.
Mhm.
And it's about making man to have knowledge of his true self. So actually, this is the answer. The answer to the question is having man to have knowledge of his true self.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's like we
So
should understand ourselves first because we are the best learner of our own acts, basically. So we have to understand our own activities, our own actions before
uh-huh.
understanding others' action, actually.
Yeah. So what this book is further saying, the knowledge of the God within, there is a God within man, I'm saying. And that knowledge is the knowledge of the master creator, because God himself is the master creator. And
Mhm.
this God is within man. And that knowledge is also inside man.
Mhm.
And this is the knowledge that man must have to be able to break his chains. For this book argues, truly acquiring the knowledge of the master creator within, the knowledge that is sitting inside man and ever waiting to be drawn out, makes man to become like the master creator, makes man to become like the master creator,
Mhm.
the God within him, and to become capable of breaking the chains in which he is born by himself, and to thus become free from his chains, a
Okay.
free man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
A man that is a man, this free man is a man that is a creator of excellence, a creator of harmony, a creator of wealth, and a man that is capable of breaking the chains in which he is born by himself.
Mhm.
And so the answer is having the knowledge of the God within, the knowledge of the master creator, which makes man to become a creator of excellence, a
Mhm.
creator of harmony, not
Right.
conflicts,
Right. Right.
a creator, a creator of wealth, not poverty,
Mhm.
and capable of breaking the chains in which he is born by himself, instead of looking outside himself for somebody else to break his chains for him.
Mhm.
Because the truth is that if you allow somebody to break your chains for you, you become a subject to that person,
Mhm.
and
Right.
you no longer become free.
Yes. Yes.
So this is what is good. So the point is, man must have the knowledge of the true self within,
Mhm.
and with that knowledge, he becomes capable of creating his desired experiences,
Mhm.
breaking his chains,
Mhm.
and to become like that God within him, the master creator.
Master creator. Right.
So the destiny of man on earth is to become a master creator,
Mhm.
that has dominion over land, sea, and air,
Mhm.
and not a man over whom the land, sea, and air have dominion like it is now. But
Mhm.
we are meant to have dominion over land, sea, and air,
Mhm.
and to create like the God within us.
Right.
So this is this is one point of view. So, and so this book, actually, and this book now shows how to draw out this knowledge. This book shows how to draw out this knowledge. The knowledge that has ever since man creation been waiting to be drawn out, but which man has so far failed to have drawn out. The knowledge is inside man, is waiting to be drawn out. Man has so far failed to draw it out. And this is what I'm now saying. I'm now showing the way to draw it out so that man becomes capable of breaking the chain in which is born by himself.
Right. It is very true indeed. It is very true indeed. And thank you so much for giving us an insight of this particular abstract thing which we do not think a lot about, but in reality, it is a great thing to talk about. So thank you so much for your in-depth answer. So we are almost at the end of our today's interview, and this is going to be your last question. Although you have covered everything very well and you have answered us everything about your book and how important it is for our society and for individuals, whoever reads this book. And so, in your book, this book not only challenges the paradigm, but also it offers a roadmap for individuals who are seeking freedom. So, can you share some key insight or takeaways that authors can gain from this book? So, what are the major takeaways authors can gain from your book?
Yeah. And before I start this question, let me again set the record straight here. This book, unlike Rousseau's, is not saying that man is born free. My book, unlike Rousseau, is not saying that man is born free. It is saying that man is born in chains, but with the destiny to be free. And that to be free, man needs to learn to break the chains, the natural construct, the chains. And I'm emphasizing the chains, the natural constructs. He must learn to break these natural constructs by himself. Remember, the natural constructs are not the physical chains, like the forces of gravitation, the rivers that we have to cross, the mountains that we can't over, but the chains, the lack of which, according to the Lord, he made to perish. And then the life of contradictions, which makes man's life to become brutish, nasty, and short. These are the natural constructs that man needs to break in order to be free.
Right.
So this book further asserts that man is indeed endowed with overwhelming potentials to break the chains in which he is born by himself, and that man has no good reason to continue to be fettered in the chains in which he is born, especially when he has all these potentials at his disposal. Man has no good reason to continue to be fettered in the chains because he has so much potentials at his disposal. And so secondly, what I'm saying is that this book asserts that all that man needs to do is to have the overwhelming potentials become developed. All that man needs to do is to have the overwhelming potentials within him developed and no longer make them go waste, and no longer make those potentials to go waste.
Right.
Because, yes, no longer make them. Fourthly, the potentials become developed by having knowledge of the true self, and in fact, learning to become the true self. This is the answer. That to develop the overwhelming potentials, man needs to have the knowledge of the true self, the knowledge of the master creator within him. And then with that knowledge, he's able to break all the chains that are before him. So this is the fourth assessment. And then finally, I'm saying that this book asserts that the abiding principles in man's movement on earth, the abiding principle in man's movement on earth, the Exodus, the liberation movement, is that not just quote, is the abiding principle is that not just quote, man know thyself, unquote, like Socrates so proclaimed. The abiding principle is not only man know thyself. And what this book is above all saying is that the abiding principle is what this book is further saying, that the abiding principle is having man to become his true self. Having man to become his true self. So the abiding principle, unlike Moses, unlike Socrates, is man, be thyself. Man, be thyself. Not just this any self, the true self. Man, be thyself. And so what this book is further saying, and this book shows, and this book, in fact, shows how to make man become his true self.
Right, yes.
So by that's the abiding principle.
Yes.
That ends it.
Yes.
So man, be thyself.
Yes,
And
right.
this book shows how to do it. Yeah.
Yes, right, yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Arma, for your in-depth views on this philosophical aspect of liberation and how should we think and how people should be free from everywhere. We should free from our own self and we should find our inner self in order to do something great in life. And we are really grateful to have you in our show today to give and to empower us on this abstract topic because we don't talk about all these things in our general life because we are so much busy with our daily courses and daily activities. And this is really very enriching and very empowering for me, I think, and for everyone. So I really thank you a lot for giving your precious time to us and to fulfill this interview in a successful one. So thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much. Thanks, Matsu. Thanks so much.